Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight we have a special guest with us on the show. We have Paul Mazurkiewicz of the death metal legends Cannibal Corpse. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
So, Paul, and I got to ask you a couple of these drummy little questions. I mean, how old were you when you first started playing drums?
Well, actually, I was a little bit of a kind of a latecomer to the drumming game. I guess a lot of kids were probably starting when they were really, really young. Well, I actually didn't start playing until I guess I was around 15, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So it actually all came together. I don't know if it ever came together, but it all came together pretty quick in that sense where I started as a teen then, and then when you look at it, well, only a few years later, and I'm in Cannibal Corpse, and we're putting on our first record. So yeah, very, very strange in that way, where everything happened kind of quick with me, because exactly, I wasn't sitting around, being a drummer, having been playing since I was 5, like a lot of drummers do. So yeah, crazy. I was like I said, a late comer.
So what made you want to play drums in the first place? I mean, you're 15 years old. Why did you want to play drums, Paul?
Well, I was obviously into music, and I was into heavy metal. And, I actually played guitar first. That was my first instrument, which I took. I did take lessons on guitar. I think I was maybe around 12 years old or somewhere around there. And I remember having to learn on an acoustic guitar. And at that point, I already kind of wanted to rock out. I wanted to make noise, but my parents weren't going to get me an electric guitar. They wanted to make sure, of course, if I was going to be able to, if I wanted to keep this going. So I remember I played for about 6 months, and then I kind of gave it up because exactly, I didn't want to play acoustic guitar anymore. I didn't want to strum the guitar. I wanted to make some noise, play some metal. So fast forward a couple of years. But, well, I guess I shouldn't fast forward a couple of years. I should stay along the same lines I was on. I have drumming in my family, kind of a thing. It's kind of like, I guess, in the blood, you would say, where my cousin, my mother's sister's son, is 2 years older than me, my cousin Jerry, and he's a drummer. He got into it when he was young, actually, and took lessons and played drums. And I never had an older, or a brother, I guess, for that matter. I have a younger sister, but so he was kind of like my older brother, I guess, 2 years older. That's how I was kind of getting into music, different music from him, basically, and all that. But I remember going over to his house, and he'd have the drum set set up in the basement, or in his bedroom, and I was able to watch him play a little bit, or maybe mess around. But another person in my family was my uncle, who married into the family, but has been with my father's sister for basically 50 years now and everything. But he was a polka drummer of all things, with my, of course, my Polish background. But he played in a polka band in Buffalo, and I remember early on watching him play. When my cousins would have a birthday party or whatever, they and the band come and play, set up in the garage, and have a little personal show for the birthday and what have you. And then so I'm able to see this, and it's in my family. So I got my uncle, I got my cousin. I'm able to kind of witness that, and for some reason, I don't know. I always gravitated towards the drums. Like if I'm watching a band or I was watching a band, everybody was cool. I loved the guitar and the bass and the spoke, whatever's happening. But the drummer seemed to just always catch my eye more. I'd always be fixated more on the drummer, like just more going on, I guess. More to watch, more to take in. So I don't know. I think it was a part due, and maybe it was just in me. And then, I'm getting to, say, about 15 or whatever, and I do remember in particular going to my cousin's at this point, and he had a big drum set up in his bedroom at this stage. And I just remember sitting back and playing, or trying to play, because I'd never taken lessons, and I didn't have a drum set, I don't think, at that time. And I just remember sitting behind his drum kit and playing it and going, man, I can kind of do this, I mean, I can sit back and I can hold just a little 4/4 kind of a beat, I guess. I have rhythm, where people, I guess, might not have that. I sit behind there and go, I can't do anything, one hand, whatever. So I just felt that, wow, I feel like I got a a little natural maybe ability to do this. I can do this. I want to do this. So that kind of pushed me forward, and and then it all took off from there. At that age, when everything is just happening so fast in life, let alone the whole musical scape. We're talking in the mid '80s, where everything's changing. Where 1 minute we're loving, our favorite bands are Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and all that, Judas Priest, and then the next minute it's Metallica, Slayer, Creator, and then the next, it was the '80s were crazy like that. But that was my kind of how it all started, how it all began with the drumming.
So what did your parents think when you start hauling in drums into the house?
Well, they're at fault. My mom took me to get my first drum. No, they were supportive. That was very, very cool of them, because they let me play in the house and they let me set up in the basement as well. And the first practices that we ever had as a band, not even called a band, but I guess get-togethers, were in my parents' basement. Having some of the original Cannibal guys, us jamming together. And, because I was the drummer. But very, very grateful that my parents allowed that to happen, because they could have been the other way, of course.
Yeah, and then they could have been schlepping you all over the place, loading all those drums in there. So it was much easier just to have everybody come to your basement.
Oh, of course. That's why, they had to endure some pretty bad stuff for a few years there.
So what was your first kit? Do you remember?
Oh yeah. My first kit was a Kent drum set. I think they were made in Western New York. I'm not sure, but it was an old. Figure I bought that in '80. I would have bought it in '85 maybe, and then and back then it was from the '60s, I think, or maybe even earlier. So it was already 20 years old, this drum kit, because I remember the hardware being really flimsy, very old, and the drums themselves were very old. But but I remember it was a double bass kit that was like, it was hard to find like a cheap double bass.
Oh yeah.
And we found this Kent. I remember, it was a double bass kit with 2 toms, floor tom. I think it came with a couple stands or whatever, and but it was for $200.
Wow, that's nice.
Used Kent. So that was it. That was my first drum set.
So now you were in Cannibal Corpse from like the very early beginning. I mean, back in '88. So what was it like for the band back in the early days, Paul, playing in your basement and stuff?
Well, it was crazy. I guess playing in the basement, of course, would have been pre-Cannibal.
Right.
When the other bands were kicking, we had our bands pre-Cannibal. But we were in my basement for a while, and I remember we were in our bass player's garage for a bit. Then we actually ended up in Bob Rousse's house there, our original guitar player, back when we had the band called Tyrant Sin. When he was in the band and Barnes was in it with me, and so we were jamming there. Cannibal actually never jammed. I'm thinking Cannibal, never jammed at anybody's house. When Cannibal was finally formed, it was always at a practice kind of a facility and all that. But those early days of jamming the early stuff and getting bands together. I mean, it was grateful when we look back that we had families and parents that allowed us to do this. Because we're making noise at all hours of the day. And I'm sure it was god awful for the most part. Back then. But thinking back, I'm just grateful that we had parents that allowed us to do it.
It is true. So what were like some of the first shows? I mean, what was your first big show?
Well, I mean, our very first show was huge because we're opening for Dark Angel.
Oh man.
Right.
No pressure.
That was I know. It was pressure, and it was cool though at the same time. We were, of course, so pumped and so psyched.
Oh.
But the very first Cannibal show was opening for Dark Angel in 1989, and they were on the Leave Scars tour. So Dark Angel they were huge at that point in the underground, in the whole thrash scene, whatever. So we were very fortunate to get on that gig, of course, because we knew it was going to be a big show in Buffalo, and it was. It was a sold out. We played some, the bar that was happening at the time was called the River Rock Cafe, and it only held maybe about 400, 450. And I remember it was sold out. The It was like 450 in this place, and that was our very first show. So, and I remember, well, of course, we knew we were going to play that show, so it was important. We had to have the demo tape done before the show. That was important. So I remember I think we went in to record, a couple months earlier, maybe it was only a month earlier. We did the demo. We knew we were going to be playing a big show in front of a lot of people. We'd be able to promote the band. And I remember we sold a bunch of demos that day, and I can't remember if we had shirts. I think we did, but yeah, our very first show opening for Dark Angel. I know, crazy.
And here we are, almost 30 years later.
I know. Pretty insane. Who would have ever thought, hey, maybe we'll play with Dark Angel too?
Oh, you never know, because they're back out again now too, that would be awesome.
That actually would be amazing if we could pull that off, us playing with Dark Angel somewhere next year on our 30th anniversary. That would be actually pretty insane. We're going to have to talk to Gene about that.
You have to. That would be awesome. Oh my God, that would be so great. Hey, so
that
now,
would be amazing.
it would be. You've come full circle. Both bands,
right.
Really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because they've been obviously a big hiatus for years and things. So that would be something. Yeah, as we said.
Okay,
we might have to talk to Gene, see if something could be worked out.
Maybe that's something we could look forward to. Maybe with the anticipation of maybe this happening. So hey,
you never know.
You never do. You never know. But I'm excited too. I'm going to talk to Dark Angel too. You have to do it.
Yeah, why not, right? Why not?
So, like I said, 30 years later, and you guys are about to release another album, Red Before Black. So tell us a little bit about, writing this album and some of the subject matters.
Well, it was kind of business as usual, writing the new album. We got our methods. We just get to work basically when we know we have to get it done. And we got three really strong songwriters, and Rob and Alex and Pat, that can churn out songs. And no different on this album. Kind of cross with the board, split pretty equal. Pat wrote 4 songs. Alex wrote 3 songs. Rob wrote 3. Alex wrote 4 songs. Rob wrote 3 songs, and I collaborated with Rob on 1. But but the usual kind of Cannibal Corpse, talk. What we got going, I guess, on Red Before Black. I did write half the album again. I wrote lyrically. I wrote 6 songs. So there's 12 songs. I did write half the songs. I wrote 4 songs of Pat's, which I always do. I wrote 1 of Rob's songs, and then I wrote the one that I collaborated with Rob. But yeah, we got the same old kind of stuff going for the most part. A couple different things. I guess the big different thing I do like to talk about is we have a song called Heads Shoveled Off on this record, and it's one that Pat wrote, and it's a pretty brutal blaster. But but like any other songs, the way they come about, mostly it's a title like that we have that we're set on, and then the subject matter is going to come later. So I didn't know where I was going to go with this. We have the song title, we know we're calling it that. Well, I talked to Pat. Pat was like, "Man, I got a little story." Yeah, my back in Vietnam, my uncle was in the war there, and they did this to a guy in Vietnam, I guess. They didn't kill the guy that way, the enemy, but they ended up taking his head off, I guess, with a shovel, after the fact. And right there, it was kind of like, well, dude, that's the inspiration of the song right there. And that's the first lyric in the song. Back in Nam, he killed a man. Right there. And that's a first for Cannibal. It's a first for me anyways. We'd never tie in true-to-life instances or anything like that. So just the fact that I say the word Nam, and talking about Vietnam, is a first for me lyrically. So there you go. It's a loose tie in there, basically loosely based on something that did kind of happen, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yes.
Both different for Cannibal, but but hey, that's the way it goes.
And you guys went with Eric Rutan as a producer on this album too. So what's it like working with Eric?
Oh, it's great. He's such a energetic guy, and very determined, very focused. Such a great guy. I can't say enough about him. But yeah, it was great working again with him. Of course, he knows the band, I think, more key. But yeah, he's so much fun to work with. Just, he's, like I said, just being around him, always positive. I mean, it rubs off on you, kind of a thing. But yeah, we did a great job too. Did a really good job on Red Before Black. We got a really awesome, gritty guitar sound that fits the songs, fits the album, and we're very psyched for everybody to hear this. So we can't wait. But yeah, Eric did an amazing job.
So you must have been really happy then when you got the final thing in your hand after it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, after it took a while. I mean, we recorded. We took maybe about 3 months to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just nitpick. You go through everything to make it as best as possible. The mastering process took a little longer maybe than we would have liked, but there you go. You're doing it for the better of the record, right? You want the best product, and we feel that we got an amazing product. That Red Before Black is, it stands on its own kind of a thing. It's got a little more of its own identity, maybe. So that's good. That's what we were going for.
Now you guys have the pre-release song out, "Code of the Slashers." So why did you pick that song as the pre-release?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It's hard, actually, to come up with that,
Mm-hmm.
We have 12 songs on the record, and we when we listen to all 12, when I listen to all 12, I mean, I think they're all awesome songs. We never write filler,
Mm-hmm.
We're always trying to make the best song possible, and then as a collection here, I listen to these 12, and I go, man, these are we got some really cool stuff, in my opinion, and I think this is the best we've ever done. So yeah, in that sense, it gets tough to what do you do? What do you put out first? I mean, what do you give to the listeners? And I don't know. We just thought Code was kind of had a little bit of you got your slow parts, you got your chugging middle, it's got some fast. It's kind of got a little bit of everything, I guess. So we just said, hey, yeah, we'll go with that, I guess. Just to get that first song out there to represent. So, but yeah, it is a tough call, because could have obviously went with probably any of the songs. So.
And you guys got the video out too, and it's all kinds of fun in a Cannibal Corpse kind of way. So where was it shot? Was that shot locally?
Actually, I don't know where that was shot. I think we have to find out. I think it might be set, but if you notice, of course, we're not in the video.
I know.
Yeah, so this was being kind of a weird kind of a thing for us then, and maybe, but I think Metal Blade wanted to release more of a video. Everyone loves these lyric videos these days,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? We hate them. I personally hate them. I know Alex hates them. We don't want a lyric video.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that's just, we'd rather have nothing than that,
Uh-huh.
So they were kind of our lines Metal Blade, and so they came up with an idea then, well, what if we do this then? What if we have a video that's made for the song, but we don't have to be in it kind of a thing, and because we're busy too, I mean, all that kind of stuff. So something different, I guess, but the only thing we did is signed off on the whole idea. I mean, so we didn't sit down, okay, what are we going to make the video about? Of course, we'd like to keep it very similar to what the song's about.
Right.
But we basically got the treatment from them, and this is what we want to do. This is what we'd like to make this video, and how we want to make it, and what it's going to be about. So of course, we have to sign off on it. We're not going to let anything go that's going to be a stamped Cannibal Corpse that's not going to pass the band's approval ever.
Right.
So we, of course, saw the treatment. So hey, sounds like it should be pretty cool. Yeah, right up our alley. Like it's going to fit the song well. Go for it. So they made the video, and basically we saw it and said, pretty cool. I mean, we could have made any changes, of course, if we wanted to, and all that kind of stuff. But we didn't change anything. They came up with that video, and we watched it, and it turned out awesome. Fits the song great.
It does.
Very brutal. Very Cannibal Corpse.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, awesome. A great vision.
So what formats is it going to be released on? It looked like you had a whole bunch of stuff available.
Yeah, I think it's going to be released on pretty much every format. I think they're actually bringing a cassette tape back too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I don't think we've had anything released on cassette in a little while. They seem to be kind of making a little bit of a collector's pack. So yeah, we'll have that. We'll have some different kinds of vinyl, I believe, and of course CD. But I think that's about it. I think there's just maybe some different kind of vinyls happening. I'm not sure. What's happening in the way of anything different in the CD packaging or any of that nature, but we're getting the cassette, so that's cool.
It is cool, and you're right. A lot of bands do that, and I think some of your pre-order stuff has like some bundles and stuff with shirts. I'm not sure. I think I saw that up on the site, so people could go check that up. So I'm assuming you guys have got some follow-up shows now coming up. It looked like you had a lot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the album's coming out soon here, right, with the pre-orders. Get some bundles happening. Go to our website or Metal Blade, I guess. But yeah, the touring is about to commence here. We're actually playing first in Mexico City for that Knotfest, Mexico City Knotfest. That's coming up next month, October 28th. And then the touring starts November 3rd, the day the record comes out, the U.S. tour. With Power Trip and Gate Creeper, which will take us to Christmas, and then have the break, and we'll be hitting it hard in 2018. That's for sure. We got the 70,000 tons of metal cruise early February. We're doing that, and then right into our European tour with the Black Dahlia Murder.
Oh boy!
That'll take us into March, basically. I think the end of March, and then actually that's all we pretty much have booked for now. But of course, the plan is doing everything, so we'll be going all over the world, pretty much playing everywhere. So yeah, we got a lot of shows coming up, a lot of tours coming up, and that's to be expected with the new record, of course. But it'll be fun to be out there playing. Of course, we're going to play a lot of new stuff, and that'll be fun.
You're going to be out there in the frigid, cold winter months, there, Paul.
You had to remind me. That's the one thing I'm dreading. That's just that one thing.
But
at least it's only a little bit. It's not having to endure a whole winter. Yeah, we can, little pockets there, I guess. But gosh.
Are you playing Canada? Are you playing up in Canada?
Actually, we're not.
Okay.
We're coming up. We're playing in the Northeast. I mean, if we're lucky, it might not be too bad.
No.
November, December's hit or miss. So I think I'm more worried about Europe in February. Mm-hmm. We are going to be playing some pretty northern countries there. So,
oh boy!
But like I said, at least it's only going to be for a little time and not enduring it for months on end, because I don't know if I could do that anymore.
Well, hey, all I gotta say is you really gotta soak in that 70,000 tons of metal cruise show that you're doing.
Oh, we will. That's for sure. That definitely will. Because soon after that, it won't be. Sun may be out, but we're not going to be feeling it like that.
No, not at all. So, hey, there you guys have it. The new Cannibal Corpse album, Red Before Black, out November 3rd on Metal Blade Records. You can check the band's websites to learn more about the tours and merch. And, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us today. And all the best to you and the band and all those tours you have coming up.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And, thank you so much.